Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 162. We're going to talk about Werewolf in a Woman's Prison from 2006. I watched this on Amazon Prime. I had not seen this before. As always, we start with the prominent crew and cast. You can always find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. The film was directed by Jeff Leroy, written by Jeff Leroy and Vinny Bellocchio. Special effects were by Eric Flenner and John Lashago. The werewolf design was by Ron Karkoska. Jeff Leroy is an independent filmmaker known for micro-budget genre films like Rat Scratch Fever, Predator World, and Giantess Attack vs. Mecha Fembot. Leroy works as a director, editor, and cinematographer on his projects, and he's gained enough recognition that a documentary about him, Giant, the world of filmmaker Jeff Leroy, was made in 2021. He has another werewolf film, Eyes of the Werewolf, from 1999, that I have not yet been able to track down and see. Vinny Bellocchio is an actor, producer, director, screenplay writer, editor, sound designer, set designer, and director of photography. He worked in the art department for American Pie and has been involved in numerous low-budget horror films. His filmography includes work on Sorority House Massacre, Blood Gnome, Bioslime, Camp Blood, Killjoy Goes to Hell, The Screaming, and Creepies. Eric Flenner has many more acting credits, including an episode of Parks and Recreation. This is his only special effects credit. John Lashago got his start as a kid in a karate class in the Chuck Norris film A Force of One. He wrote, directed, and edited his own low-budget horror films like Killjoy Goes to Hell, Killjoy's Psycho Circus, Feast of Fear, and Blade, the Iron Cross. Ron Karkoska got his start as an FX tech on AI, artificial intelligence. He has an impressively long career in the 21st century doing makeup and special effects on low-budget films. He's most known for Sky High, Dragon Wars, D-War, Disaster Movie, and The Ritual. We'll see him again when we get to House of the Wolfman from 2009. The cast includes Victoria De Mere as Sarah, Eva Derrick as Rachel, Vinny Bellocchio as Jack, Jacqueline Olivier as Rita, Domiziano Arcangeli as Juan, Nato de Paula Pimenta as Garcia, Kristen Zayak Vasquez as Crystal, Meredith Giagrande as Angel, and Al Burke as Badger. Victoria De Mere is a multi-talented artist. In addition to acting, she is a poet, writer, model, dancer, vocalist, and songwriter. Hustler magazine declared her one of Hollywood's hottest horror scream queens. Her filmography includes work such as Killjoy's Psycho Circus, Beyond the Law, The Rideshare Killer, and End Times. Eva Derrick was a gymnast on a German national team and won the title Miss Germany International in 2002. She had a roughly decade-long career in low-budget horror and thriller films such as Death to the Supermodels, Magus, The Graveyard, Dark Reality, Tripping Forward, Hillside Cannibals, and The Slaughter. Jacqueline Olivier began as a model before pursuing acting. Notable film work includes ADR voice work on Fast 5, Spy Kids 3, and the animated film Rio 2. She's done horror like Day of the Dead 2, Contagion, and ensemble rom-coms like Flick Chicks. Her television work includes an appearance on the series 24 and Justice with Judge Maybelline. Domiziano Arcangeli's career was launched in the 80s. He was screen tested by Federico Fellini and appeared in his Oscar-winning movie Intervista. He moved on to small roles in notable European productions like Liliana Cavani's Francesco and Tinto Brass's Paprika. He became best known for low-budget independent and particularly exploitation films. His later filmography included Natural-Born Filmmakers, Waiting for Dracula, and Samurai Avenger the Blind Wolf. Nito de Paulo Pimento is known for Dexter and SEAL Team 6. He wrote Nina of the Woods. Kristen Zayak Vasquez began as an actress before she and a partner founded a production company, where she has worked as producer and production manager. Her industry work spans multiple roles, from visual effects to production management. A notable project is Her, where she contributed to the visual effects department. Meredith Giagrande is known for Accepted, Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star, Mind of Mencia, 2.5 Men, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Al Burke is a 15-time pro wrestling champion with 23 years in wrestling entertainment. His last title was the UWF Pro Wrestling King in 2007. He worked in film and television since the late 90s, acting and doing stunts. He's known for The Wedding Singer, Cradle to the Grave, and Honey Boy. He is probably best remembered for his scenes as a wrestler in Eminem's music video Without, which showcased his wrestling persona to a broader entertainment audience. I am really struggling to settle on a recommendation here. If you're looking for high art or serious horror, keep walking. If you avoid nudity and softcore porn, this is not for you. And honestly, I wish I'd skipped it up myself on those grounds. But if you enjoy campy B movies that know exactly what they are, this delivers exactly what it promises. It's got all the hallmarks of good, bad cinema, earnest performances, ridiculous dialogue, and practical effects that swing for the fences even when they miss. The sexual elements are honestly trite and boring, but the kills are inventive and energetic. Think Caged Heat meets The Howling, with a budget of about $12. Werewolf in a Women's Prison is exactly what it says on the tin. No more, but no less. It's a perfect example of a B movie made with limited resources but maximum enthusiasm. Jeff Leroy crafts a tight, entertaining 83 minutes that delivers on most of its promises. Is it high art? Absolutely not. Is it silly? Absolutely yes. If you're in the mood for old school exploitation horror with a supernatural twist, then this scratches that itch nicely. Victoria Demers' committed performance anchors the film, and the practical effects have a charm you just can't match. Just know what you're getting before you go into this. So let's go over that synopsis. Sarah and her boyfriend Jack are down in Mexico, engaged in a little camping coitus, when a werewolf attacks them. Jack is killed. Sarah is injured, but manages to use a combination of vodka and fire to kill the beast. Sarah wakes up naked and tied to a metal table. The Mexican authorities do not believe her werewolf story, and she's the only suspect in Jack's murder. She is sentenced to a corrupt women's prison where she's immediately sexually assaulted. She meets the other girls in her cell block, Rachel and Angel, and learns the ropes of the prison. The girls are at the mercy of the morally bankrupt warden, doctor, and guards, and they struggle against the other prisoners. Sarah defends Rachel in a prison yard catfight, and her new werewolf strength breaks the other girl's arm. As punishment, she and Rachel are chained out naked under the sweltering sun. They have to lick the sweat off of each other to survive. The warden drugs Rachel and sells her off as a prostitute. Also, the ghost of Jack shows up to warn Sarah about her impending change. That night, the moon is full. Rachel transforms and goes on an absolute rampage. She starts by killing a rat, and then moves on to killing one of the girls who gave her trouble in the yard. Then she busts out of her cell and kills a guard named Garcia. She moves on and kills 3 girls who picked on Rachel. She decapitates the John, but lets Rachel go. The warden sedates her with a tranquilizer gun. She awakens, chained again. The warden plans to display her like a freak. Rachel helps her escape, and the guards chase the pair through the desert. We get a Treasure of the Sierra Madre badges / Badger joke. Sarah partially transforms in broad daylight and kills 2 guards, but Badger the bounty hunter tranks her again. That night, the warden puts on his show. Rachel is whipped in order to get Sarah to transform. Sarah kills every last person in the room except Rachel, including other prisoners that were forced to be there. Rita and the warden make a last stand in his office. Sarah kills Rita. Angel kills the warden. Sarah attacks Rachel finally, so Angel shoots her with a silver bullet. The warden had them made as part of a contingency plan. Rachel plans to use the last silver bullet on herself before the next full moon. The end. The transformation scenes here are clearly inspired by An American Werewolf in London, but executed with about 1/100th of the budget. We get plenty of hair sprouting, teeth elongating, and bones cracking, all accompanied by Victoria Demers' committed screaming. The makeup effects are basic but enthusiastic, and there is something enduring about this old school approach. Unlike Rick Baker's groundbreaking work, these transformations rely on quick cuts and creative camera angles rather than any sophisticated prosthetics. They just didn't have the money for it. It's guerrilla filmmaking at its finest. Minimal resources, but maximum effort. The film takes an almost perfectly traditional approach to werewolf mythology. We get the classic bite transmission, lunar cycle transformations, and the beast's vulnerability to silver and fire. What's interesting is how the prison setting affects the werewolf rules. Sarah's transformations are triggered not just by the moon, but by extreme stress and violence, which makes perfect sense in this high-stress, high-violence environment. The film borrows the reappearing and decaying ghost from An American Werewolf in London as well to explain lycanthropy to the new werewolf and to the audience. The werewolf design itself is old school. It's just a guy in a fursuit, and the film doesn't even really try to hide it. Werewolf in a Women's Prison is a simple film. Boobs and gore. But metaphors and allegories emerge in art through the unconscious mind of the creator, cultural context, or audience interpretation, regardless of the artist's conscious intent. An artist may create purely for entertainment or aesthetic purposes, yet the work still functions symbolically due to several factors. Artists draw from their lived experiences, cultural anxieties, and psychological states, which can manifest symbolically in their work without any deliberate planning. A filmmaker making a simple monster movie might unconsciously embed themes about social oppression or transformation. Art exists within specific historical and social contexts that inevitably influence its meaning. A work created without any allegorical intent can become metaphorically significant when it reflects broader cultural tensions or zeitgeist concerns that the artist absorbed but didn't consciously address. And viewers and critics bring their own experiences, knowledge, and frameworks to art, finding patterns and meanings that may exceed the creator's original vision. The audience essentially completes the work's meaning through their engagement with it. All this reveals that meaning in art is collaborative and contextual rather than solely determined by creator intent. So, allow me to exercise some highbrow analysis of this very lowbrow entertainment. Werewolf in a Women's Prison simultaneously functions as exploitation entertainment and as a complex allegory about institutional oppression and female empowerment, even if the filmmakers only intended the former. While the film's surface elements are purely sensational, the werewolf transformation here serves as a metaphor for Sarah's state throughout her incarceration. She literally and figuratively becomes something else. An innocent woman enters prison to be replaced by something more primal and dangerous. This presents the classic prison changes you narrative with a supernatural twist, where the monthly lunar curse represents how trauma fundamentally alters identity. When Sarah arrives at the Mexican prison, she is the archetypal innocent abroad, a young woman whose only crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Her encounter with the werewolf in the wilderness transforms her on a biological level, but the prison environment completes her metamorphosis on a psychological level. The lycanthropic curse becomes a literalization of how institutional violence corrupts, turning victims into something unrecognizable from their former selves. The film establishes Sarah's baseline innocence through her relationship with Jack and their carefree camping trip. This beginning serves as a contrast to what follows, emphasizing just how drastically the prison experience will alter her nature. The corrupt women's prison is a crucible where Sarah's transformation accelerates beyond the supernatural. The sexual assault she experiences upon arrival signals that this institution operates outside conventional moral boundaries, creating an environment where survival requires abandoning civilized behavior. The werewolf's strength, which allows her to break another prisoner's arm, symbolizes the hardening process that all prisoners must undergo to survive prison. During her first transformation in prison, Sarah's rampage follows a clear pattern of vengeance against those who have wronged her and her fellow inmates. She kills a rat first, a symbolic act claiming territory and establishing her dominance. Her subsequent murders of the yard bullies and the guard Garcia represent her violent fantasies that any prisoner in her situation might harbor. The transformation gives her the power to act on impulses her human form must suppress for survival. Sarah's final transformation during the Warden's Freak Show represents the victory of the wolf over her human identity. Her systematic murder of everyone in the room, including other prisoners that were forced to be present, demonstrates that her transformation has reached a point where she no longer distinguishes between ally and enemy. The trauma is so complete that her capacity for human judgment has been compromised. She even attacks and infects Rachel. The film's ending, with Rachel planning to use the last silver bullet on herself before the next full moon, suggests that transformation is ultimately a contagious process. Having witnessed and participated in Sarah's dehumanization, Rachel recognizes that she has been fundamentally altered by the experience as well. Werewolf in a Women's Prison uses its exploitation framework to deliver a surprisingly pointed critique of how institutional violence transforms its victims. The werewolf transformation is both the literal plot device and a metaphor for psychological trauma, showing how environments designed to break the human spirit often succeed in creating something monstrous from what was once innocent. The film's supernatural elements amplify its social commentary. It transforms a seemingly simple creature feature into a complex meditation on how trauma reshapes identity and how some transformations may be irreversible. The werewolf is a symbol of what we become when the systems meant to protect us instead consume our humanity. Or, boobs and gore. In an era of bloated blockbusters, and CGI-heavy monster movies, Werewolf in a Women's Prison stands as a testament to the power of resourcefulness. Jeff Leroy and his team understand a fundamental truth of low-budget filmmaking. Success comes from working intelligently within your limitations. This film succeeds because it doesn't try to be more than it is. The confined prison setting is both a thematic necessity and a practical asset. Rather than feeling cramped by budgetary restrictions, Leroy uses the claustrophobic environment to intensify the horror. Narrow corridors, cramped cells, and limited common areas create an atmosphere of dread. And when Sarah goes on her rampage, the confined spaces amplify the terror. There is nowhere to run. The prison yard becomes a crucial arena for establishing character dynamics, while the warden's office serves as a final battleground where corrupt authority meets supernatural justice. Each space is utilized to its fullest potential. Perhaps most impressively, the film demonstrates sophisticated restraint in its creature portrayal. The werewolf is used sparingly. We get quick glimpses and reaction shots rather than extended showcases, which is smart given the budget constraints. This approach recalls classic monster movies of the 40s and 50s, where suggestion often proved more effective than revelation. When Sarah transforms, brief flashes of claws, fangs, and superhuman strength create enough impact. The werewolf's attacks are visceral and brutal, constructed through editing, sound design, and practical effects rather than expensive animatronics or digital creatures. During Sarah's prison rampage, we witness the aftermath: the decapitated John, the mangled guards, the terrified survivors, without needing every gory detail. Now, the gore that we do get is practical and effective, even if it's not particularly sophisticated. It's refreshing to see actual squibs and corn syrup blood in an era of digital effects. The film's commitment to practical effects creates a tactile quality that digital blood just can't match. And the result feels immediate and authentic in ways that overly polished digital effects often don't achieve. The modest budget becomes an asset here, forcing filmmakers to rely on creativity and craftsmanship rather than attempting expensive technological solutions. Werewolf in a Women's Prison succeeds because it operates within very clearly defined parameters and makes every creative choice count. The minimalist approach to creature effects, strategic use of confined spaces, and commitment to a practical gore combined to create an entertaining film, despite its modest origins. Finally, let's talk about the paradox of women in prison films. The women in prison film genre occupies a pretty controversial position within exploitation cinema in general, simultaneously perpetuating and challenging patriarchal power structures. Now, this subgenre got its start in the 50s with films like Caged and Women's Prison, but they evolved into a cultural phenomenon. While some dismiss these films as prurient titillation, and they kind of are, closer examination reveals a complex themes in there about institutional corruption, female agency, and the potential of women. The 70s marked a turning point for women in prison films, as social attitudes and relaxed censorship allowed for more explicit content while providing space for complex female characterizations. These films examine the structures that criminalize women, reflecting broader anxieties about female deviance and punishment for women who transgress social boundaries. The core artistic value of women in prison films stems from their examination of institutional abuse. The primary commercial draw derives from their explicit exhibition of female bodies in exploitative scenarios. You just can't get around that. Their stories feature imprisoned women subjected to sexual and physical abuse by sadistic wardens, guards, and fellow inmates. This systematic abuse serves as both exploitation and critique, exposing how these institutions maintain control through violence and sexual subjugation. Women's in prison films were among the first to show women who weren't loving housewives. They created roles for women who aren't typical, and women who endure and fight against the system. They challenged gender roles even while they were exploiting the female body for male consumption. The feminist implications remain highly contested. While these films exploit female bodies for entertainment, and they do, they also provide space for complex female characters who resist oppression through violence and solidarity. The relationship between Sarah and Rachel demonstrates that importance here. Their mutual support is an alternative to individualistic violence. However, the film complicates simple feminist readings. Angel's decision to shoot Sarah represents the ultimate tragedy, that women destroy each other rather than unite against oppressors. And let's be honest, this is exploitation cinema delivering exactly what the title promises: violence, nudity, over-the-top dialogue, and a werewolf in a women's prison. The film succeeds as grindhouse entertainment while engaging with serious themes of institutional corruption and female resistance. Werewolf in a Women's Prison faithfully observes these conventions. Sarah encounters a corrupt system where guards assault inmates. The warden profits off of prostitution. Violence serves as both punishment and entertainment. The warden's plan to display Sarah as a freak show represents the ultimate commodification of the human body, reducing her to an object for male consumption. The supernatural element enhances both the titillation and the violence. The werewolf becomes a force of rough justice, eliminating the worst offenders first. Those who abuse their power over these vulnerable women become the primary targets of Sarah's supernatural rage. And the climactic scene where Sarah transforms during the freak show represents that ultimate power reversal. The attempt to display her as a spectacle becomes the stage for her violent liberation. Now, ultimately, Werewolf in a Women's Prison exemplifies the paradoxical nature of these genre films. And these films exploit and empower, objectify and humanize, entertain and critique. Contradictions reflecting broader tensions between representation and liberation. Yet beneath academic analysis lies a far simpler truth. Women in prison films remain popular because audiences are drawn to naked female bodies, sexual titillation, and transgressive thrills. This appeal doesn't negate the potential for social commentary, but we do need to be reminded that the entertainment and exploitation often walk hand in hand here. Always walk hand in hand here. The genre's success suggests that viewers can consume these films as both mindless escapism and complex cultural texts, a duality that makes them more honest about their intentions than some supposedly respectable entertainment. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Wild Country, also from 2006. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.